Hey, and welcome to Seven Figure Business Secrets. How are you guys? Yeah, so how are you? This is a bit of an unusual Seven Figure Secrets podcast from me. Basically, I've been doing a bit of thinking, and as usual, I'm one of these. It helps me when I talk, and actually, it really helped me talk this one out to you, because it's actually about, I suppose, how I first got into business and how I exited my corporate job. And I was just thinking through there today about why on earth did I do it, and what drove me, and what was my rationale for it, and if I was to look back at myself, it's almost 16 years ago to the day when I suppose handed in my first ever resignation, why I did it, and what would I say to myself if I was to be able to have a chat with my 27-year-old self back then. And I just wanted to share my thoughts and I suppose clarify my thinking, because something interesting was coming out of it, at least to myself, at least as helping me figure out why I took, I suppose, that brave move back then, and I suppose if I was to do it now, there's definitely a few things I would do differently. So if I take you back to when it all happened, and it was basically, I was working for a company called Vistian, and I had my team and things going really well, and just out of the blue, was with a friend, we sort of came up with essentially a business idea. I use the phrase loosely. Essentially, we had a product idea, really, and very little thought to the other four aspects of the business. But basically, we were all very enthusiastic about it, and figured it out. And basically, over the course of a week or two, decided, this is it. And before that, I think I'd figured out that actually, do you know what? I felt I was destined for more, and I mean that as in I had skills, and I was good at dealing with people, and I liked helping people, and I felt that in the corporate world where I was, that I was helping shareholders, helping lots of shareholders, but I wasn't really playing to my strengths. I wasn't really, I wasn't fulfilled. I think that's the word. I know it's used a lot nowadays, but personally, I felt I wasn't fulfilled. I wasn't doing what I was put on this earth to do, and don't ask me what that is. I'm still trying to figure that out, but I know I'm closer now to where I was back then on it. So over the 2 weeks, I sort of came to a crunch and said, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take the brave pill. I'm going to resign. I'm going to go gung ho into this. And we did a back of the envelope business plan, and we knew roughly what we're going to do, and it was high-end greeting cards. Honestly, that's what it was, high-end greeting cards. So I still remember the day typing out that letter. Actually, my wife was brilliant. She sort of supported me. Still thank her to this day. By the way, we had a 1-year-old child. My eldest was actually just 1 at the time. So to be chucking in what was a really good job, to go and do this venture with little planning, it just sounds so reckless, doesn't it? Yeah, even as I'm talking to you guys, it was very reckless. With a 1-year-old child and all of these mortgages. We had a mortgage in London, which wasn't a small amount of money. So we took the venture, and I remember that night, or the night before I resigned, typing out the letter and went into work, and just after lunch, went over to my boss. He sat in a different building, and went over and sat down with Roger and said, Roger, actually, I'm going to resign. And he was like just dumbfounded, going, why on earth? Didn't see it coming. And to be honest, neither had I. It was just something that finally, I suppose, only until 2 or 3 weeks previously, I'd finally decided, this is it. And the usual conversation about, do you have to think it over? And I said, no, I have to take this and do it. And there's a bit of a, I remember walking out that night, my wife, she bought a bottle of, I think it was even champagne. It could have been, not even Prosecco or sparkling wine. It was the proper stuff. And we're sort of like drinking it that night, but deep down going, what on earth have we just done? And all the what ifs going ahead, but there's a sense of euphoria about it, and I definitely felt the time, yeah, I did the right thing, great, okay. Wind on 2 years later, when I was back out searching for a corporate job, and basically the cash had run out of the business, and it morphed from a high-end greeting cards to a high-end wedding stationery, and actually we were actually quite successful. The product was pretty good, but actually what we'd failed, look, this is all looking back, hindsight's great, but actually we'd failed to we'd done a good job positioning ourselves, but we'd actually failed to do our prospecting at all. we didn't have any pipelines for getting new business in. We didn't have pipelines for, you know, wedding planners and event planners. We didn't have wedding pipelines for even brides, and we just didn't have. Yeah, it was a struggle to get business, purely because we didn't quite understand business when we started off, which is pretty normal, isn't it? But I remember, yeah, what drove me back to corporate world then was actually, it was the lack of cash, and it was actually a bill, and it was a bill that just couldn't pay. It was an electricity bill, and actually I think I've got a picture of the bill, but basically it's the realization that, you know what, we haven't actually got the money to pay this bill. The funds we had for the business were not, there wasn't enough money coming in from the business to fund even our basics like electricity bills, and we had to, yeah, eventually, you know, we paid the bill, but it was like, you know, enough's enough, and you know, the stress of yeah, not being able to pay something that basic, and realizing that, you know, actually the dream was over, and it felt the dream was over. It was, yeah, I use the word depressing, but actually it wasn't like depression that you know, the horrible type mental illness. It was more depressing as in, yeah, that was it. That's it. What started with such euphoria and everything, it ended with, no, it's back to the job. And yeah, it wasn't the best, but at the same time, even starting the new job and everything, it was great. The money started coming in again, and career took off. But that feeling of unfulfillment eventually started creeping back in again. And what I realized looking back is that I think that sense of fulfillment or unfulfillment, in the sense of, you know deep down if you're supposed to be doing more. You know deep down if what you're doing is not quite ticking the box. You know deep down if, you know, you're spending more time on work than you know you should be, and you've got a growing family that really you should be spending more time with, and all those things, they do keep grating at you, and yeah, even when we went back to corporate job and the money was ticking in and my career was taking off and things are going well, it was still gnawing at me, and I look back going, well, how could I have made the first time right? Because actually this is now the third time, but how could I have made the first time right? And when I look back, it was I should have been better prepared, and I should have known more about what I was getting myself into, and actually on paper I was very well prepared. I had an MBA in entrepreneurship. I had, you know, spoken to quite a few people about, you know, what it exactly was, but I wasn't really listening to what it was. Not because I wasn't paying attention, I thought I was listening. I didn't quite understand some of the basics of prospecting and persuasion and positioning. We eventually figured out, but really I should have been doing a bit. I should have really experimented with this job on the side. I should have learned how to set up a business properly. Should have got my 5 P's, and I should have been experimenting with that, and yeah, I sort of kicked myself, because if I'd been experimenting the right way with the right business idea, I would have learned mistakes a lot quicker. And if I'd been doing that while having my corporate job on the side, using the right methodology, it might have taken me 6, 8, maybe even 12 weeks to figure out what it was that I didn't know, and then to be able to change that, course correct, refigure it out. And within 6 months, I probably would have had the guts of a business that was capable of generating significant income, but having that available for me, up and running, to then hand poor old Roger the resignation letter. And I would have saved myself a lot of angst. I certainly would have saved my business partner a lot of angst. I should have had my plan B, which is set my own business up. I should have had that at a better state. So looking back, that's where I think I messed up. It took me 2 years to actually get a business that was capable of actually figuring out that the business needs to change, and it was because I didn't set it up right in the right way. I didn't think about it in the right way, and but in typical entrepreneurial fashion, I was asking myself there today, would I tell myself, listen, don't do it, don't do it, and the answer, well, it still is, there's absolutely no way. I'd much rather have done what I did than not to have done anything at all. And the reason is that I spent 2 years learning what I now know I could have probably learned in probably no more than 6 months with a focused activity, and I could have done it with the income coming in on the side at the same time. So I know that, but at least I learned in 2 years a whole pile of important skills. I learned about marketing. I learned about the importance of cash flow. I learned about how much I didn't know. I realized that I thought I knew so much, and in reality I only knew about 10%. I knew everything there was to teach me on an MBA. I knew a lot of the blogs. I knew all of that type of thing, but I didn't have the experience of actually doing it for myself, of tinkering, I always go back to the analogy. I didn't have the experience of riding that bicycle and falling off it, right? And getting back up and falling off it again. I spent almost all that 2 years creating the bicycle, and I just only a short window of time left to learn how to ride it, and I didn't have enough cash flow left to go and learn how to ride that bicycle properly. So that's what I'd say to myself 2 years ago. Listen, you don't know a lot, even though you think you do. You don't know nothing. Wouldn't go quite that far, but I knew a lot less. So learn, figure out some way of learning and exposing yourself to what is you don't know, and get yourself up and running in a way that you can get yourself that bicycle which you can start riding. I think that helps me, and that helps me figure out what was actually going on in my head today. And don't ask me why, of all days, why today I started reminiscing about handing in my resignation letter all those years ago. Thanks for being with me and letting me get this out of my head and help me work through what is that's going through my brain today. Sometimes what goes through my brain has me all confused as well. Great, right? It's a Friday afternoon here, so I'm off for a whole cool weekend. I've got I think football on the sidelines tomorrow and Sunday, so cheering on both boys. Irish dancing as well to cheer on the girls. So quite a family weekend ahead. So best of luck, have a brilliant weekend you guys too, and talk to you next week. See ya.